All right, well, right now I am on vacation, and as you can see, I am situated near a very large body of salt water. And right now you may be thinking to yourself, oh wow, JD, that is so awesome. I'm so envious. You get to spend some time at the beach. Well, it turns out that I actually hate the beach, unless it's Omaha Beach. To me, this place here offers nothing but sand and heat stroke and sun poisoning. But there is a lot of history in the area where I'm at. So today, we are going to venture out and we are going to visit a location that was the site of one of the biggest naval battles in the Civil War. All right, well right now, I am on Dolphin Island at the mouth of Mobile Bay. And during the Civil War, this was a location of great strategic importance to both the Confederacy and the Union. The Confederacy had Mobile Bay blocked off. They had laid mines, which then were called torpedoes, across the bay. And bracketing either side of Mobile Bay was Fort Gaines to the west and Fort Morgan to the east. Well, in 1864, the Union started devising a plan to try and open up Mobile Bay. What they were going to do is there was going to be a joint operation between the Army and the Navy, where Army forces would be landed on the islands surrounding the forts and would advance over land, while the Navy, under the leadership of Admiral Farragut, would try and open up Mobile Bay from the sea. All right, and right now, we are headed right up to Fort Gaines. All right, well, here is our first look at Fort Gaines as we are approaching from the west here on Dolphin Island. Now, on the 3rd of August in 1864, the Union forces under the leadership of General Gordon Granger would have landed about 10 miles off in that direction, would have made an amphibious landing before daylight, and then would have advanced to within sight of Fort Gaines here. And then they started digging in. There was a little bit of shelling that was going on back and forth. Casualties were pretty light, some skirmish fire on both sides. But by the 4th, they were within a half mile of the fort and had started entrenching for a siege of the fort. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go inside now. All right, getting ready to go into historic Fort Gaines, which was established in 1821, as it says here on the sign, site of the Battle of Mobile Bay. And of course, probably the most well-known figure from the Battle of Mobile Bay was David Farragut, whose famous phrase is emblazoned there on the sign. We're going to talk more about Farragut in a later episode and the naval actions here. But as for now, as I've already said a few times already, we're going to go ahead and go inside. Quick side note, this is just pretty dang cool. This is the keel section of a ship whose remains washed ashore after Hurricane George in 1998, and they have it out on display here. Nothing is known about the ship, but it's hypothesized that it was from sometime in maybe the early 1800s or earlier. Yeah, very interesting. right, well, we just made it here inside of Fort Gaines, and man, this place is some kind of cool. Just a quick history about Fort Gaines. After the War of 1812, the U.S. realized that they were in dire need of some protection along their coasts, and decided to build a fort right here on Dolphin Island, which had previously been known as Massacre Island, because the guy who first discovered it found a whole bunch of human bones, but that was kind of an unpleasant name, so they changed it to Dolphin Island. Well, whenever they were trying to establish a fort here, they kept having problems with it being built too close to the water line. They kept having problems with flooding, and in the 1850s, well, they started building this fort, which you see here today. Now, by 1860, 1861, it was finishing up. The Civil War starts. The Confederates took over, and they're the ones who did the finishing work here at Fort Gaines. All right, so we're going to take a look around here and see how the Confederates that operated this fort would have lived. All right, what we are looking at right now is the gun ramp, or one of the gun ramps here at Fort Gaines. As you can see, it is constructed from brick and would have been used by both soldiers and by ammunition carts in order to get the guns and ammunition up here to the gun platform. So once you're up here on the gun platform, we'll take a look at this. They have all kinds of well-preserved gun mounts that are on these track supports right here. This was so that the guns could be traversed to fire out into different positions. This one right here is facing west. So the Union men who would have been approaching would have come up against these guns right here. But yeah, pretty cool. All right, I've jumped up here a little bit just to show these gun mounts from a different position, and also this serpentine brick wall. So this the serpentine wall was to protect the guns and also the crew. And then if we go over here, well, this is the south flank firing position. So whenever I first was approaching the fort, I was right out over here. So these positions here would have been occupied by 32-pound guns, and this is pretty interesting. If you look, let me move down here a little bit. If you look right here, well, here's a spot that was hit during the Battle of Mobile Bay from the USS Chickasaw. And I'll bet you the old boy who was manning this gun about evacuated his bowels whenever that thing hit. All right, touching a little bit now on what the lifestyle of the Confederates who would have been here at Fort Gaines might have looked like. This is the officers' kitchen area. So if we go inside, we'll go in this one right here. Adjust our lighting a little bit as we go. So here you can see that there are different ovens, places for food preparation. There's another oven right up here, so they would start their fire and then rake the coals to the side and then have that for cooking food. And if we go back outside, well, this capped off concrete thing here, as you can see by that sign, is a cistern. So that would be used for collecting fresh drinking water and also water that could be used in cooking. The spot that I'm approaching now is the East Bastion of Fort Gaines, and it's from this position here that you can really get a commanding view of Mobile Bay. So it might be a little bit difficult to see. Let's see if I can zoom in. Yeah, they're on the horizon, so right there. Well, that is where Fort Morgan is, and in August of 1863, there would have been quite the naval fight occurring out here in front of us between Admiral Farragut and the Confederate Navy. The Tecumseh was sank out there. We're going to tackle that a little bit more in depth in a later episode. But yeah, this is the view of Mobile Bay from the East Bastion of Fort Gaines. So if Fort Gaines is shaped like a pentagon, which it is, this is at the eastern tip of it. Okay, moving off of the East Bastion and going down into a hole. And to be right honest, I don't even know what it is that I'm going down into right now. All I know is that I don't want to fall. And oh dang, whenever I said we were going down into a hole, I wasn't even kidding. Oh, little hole. All right, oh gosh dang it. Crawling in through what is obviously a tiny little hole, and holy smokes, this actually looks pretty cool. I think the brochure I was reading earlier, I think they said that this spot underneath the East Bastion around the turn of the century, whenever they were updating the fort, was filled up with sand and would have originally been an ammunition storeroom. But yeah, there, obviously, as you can see, like if I try and stand up, yeah, there's where it hits. So not a lot of room in here. But anyway, the Civil War period, this would have been the ammunition storeroom. I do want to make quick mention of something. If you'll notice, this part of the fort looks way different than the other parts of the fort. You can see that this is a concrete gun mount for a disappearing gun. This fort was updated in the turn of the century during the Endicott period. I've done a couple other videos on Endicott era fortifications, specifically up in Maine. I'm really focusing more on the Civil War side of things for this video, but I did want to make mention that this fort was updated at different points during its existence. All right, found ourselves another hole here, and it's got a low spot. Good grief. Adjust my lighting so that we can actually see what we are getting into. Okay, and oh my, interesting. This looks like something out of Dracula's castle. And, oh dang. Well, I won't lie, I don't know exactly what I'm looking at, but it sure does look cool. Interesting. All right, so I think what we are in here is the ammunition room on the southwest corner of Fort Gaines. And you can see, let me just point back here, they have some ports for 24-pound cannon. There would have been, looks like 4 in here. Also places for shooting rifles. And then there's this actually kind of a dang cool looking tunnel that leads into here. Hey, funny story, by the way. In my Andersonville video, I had a whole bunch of people that were flipping out because they saw a shadow in the crack of a door and were completely pumped because I had caught, you know, a Civil War ghost on film. Well, actually have ran into our Civil War ghost again. Yeah, it was actually my son. So, sorry, for all you paranormal enthusiasts, I hate to disappoint you. It was just my boy getting in my shot. All right, another lifestyle structure here at the fort. There's a couple different things going on here, but on the left, this is the bakery. Okay, now inside of the bakery, and this is this is like the biggest bakery oven I've ever seen in my life. So the way that this would work is you would build your fire inside of the oven. That's going to heat up the bricks. You'd let it burn down to the ashes, and then the soldiers would rake out the ashes because nobody likes ashy bread. And then you would put your bread dough in there, close these metal doors so that the radiant heat from the bricks wouldn't escape, and then, yeah, have some fresh bread for the garrison. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know what this is over here. If it's like a bread pan for kneading dough, like that's the biggest bread pan I've ever seen. Either that or it's a giant wok. Maybe the people here at Fort Gaines really liked, you know, stir fry. All right, now, of course, no proper home tour would be complete without a look at the bathroom. So this is the latrine here at Fort Gaines, and as you can see, it is custom designed for people who are maybe, I guess you could say, a little more social. So you can sit here and chat and knock out two birds with one stone. By the way, if you're wondering how these facilities were kept clean and sanitary, well, each one of these 10 holes would lead to a culvert that went out to the sea and would get washed out with the tide there at Mobile Bay. Okay, so I'm back out front here. There's the bakery. There in the middle is the latrine. And then here on the right, this would have been a blacksmith shop that would have served the garrison. And they have this closed off, so I can't go inside, but we can maybe get up here to the window and take a little peek in here. So yeah. Bread, toilets, and a blacksmith shop. Everything that you would ever need here at Fort Gaines, plus lots of guns. Okay, so there's some of the day-to-day facilities that would have been present here at Fort Gaines. So we're going to kind of wrap things up here, but there is one more thing that they have here at the fort that I really want to show. Look at this monstrosity. This is the actual anchor from the USS Hartford, which would have been Admiral Farragut's flagship during the Battle of Mobile Bay in August of 1864. This thing is huge. I never cease to be amazed by just the size of some of these things and thinking that people actually made it. That is amazing. And then up here they have, again, reminding you of Farragut's famous words during the Battle of Mobile Bay. So here was the fate of Fort Gaines during the Battle of Mobile Bay. On August 6th, the Union ground forces brought in a couple of 30-pound Parrott rifles and I think 4 12-pound rifles to lay siege to the fort. There were some Union gunboats that sailed up and started lobbing shells into the fort. Well, the next day, on the 7th, Anderson, who was the garrison commander here at Fort Gaines, asked Farragut for terms of surrender, and the next day Farragut accepted the unconditional surrender of the Confederate forces here. All of the Confederates, which I think numbered 800 or 900, ended up being shipped over to New Orleans and became prisoners of war of the Union Army. But anyway, that was Fort Gaines. Pretty amazing place, and a lot of history right here on Dolphin Island. But as for right now, I think we're going to jump on a ferry and head over to Fort Morgan.